Hi, I'm Jeffrey Lippman, and I'm the president of SunX Malta. And we are delighted to co-host this session at SIDS 2024 to support CBC GDF and my friend Jinfeng Zhu with some thoughts on climate change and tourism. Our collaboration goes back many years, inspired by our mutual friend and mentor, the late Maurice Strong, father of sustainable development. We met because Maurice firmly believed that China must play a key role in the fundamental global response to the existential climate crisis. And as the UN Secretary General keeps reminding us, that crisis is a code red for humanity. Dr. Samuel Johnson, the English philosopher, famously said, "There is nothing so concentrates the mind as the prospect of being hanged on the morrow." Well, humanity is being hanged on the morrow. The warning signals are everywhere. It's the wildfires from Maui to Sydney. It's the floods in Libya and Dubai. It's the crazy air pollution in New York and Beijing. It's the waves lapping at hotels in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. It's the summer peaks becoming too hot to handle in the Mediterranean. It's the Caribbean hurricanes coming harder and coming more often. It's the intensifying droughts, killing off agriculture, and dramatically increasing climate refugees in Africa. It's the uncertain snow patterns, rockfalls, and glacier melts in mountains across the planet. It's not just that tourism destinations, origin markets are also hit, making traditionally predictable traffic patterns truly unpredictable. And all of this is without the global tipping points of melting ice sheets at both poles and thawing tundra across the vast reaches of Siberia, releasing COVID-style viruses that have been trapped for millions of years. Nowhere is this more challenging and more immediate than in small island states, the ones who did the least to cause the crisis and yet are the most exposed. This is our new reality. And if you have built your entire lifestyle and economy on those traditional patterns, it's time to think about big change and to think fast. Dr. Samuel Johnson's motto is here today. Our world is screaming out for climate action now, not just by 2030 or 2050. Our kids are demanding this, taking countries to court and flight shaming. Even more significantly, so are the climate scientists. IPCC says to peak greenhouse emissions by 2025 to have any chance of hitting close to Paris 1.5 by 2050, to peak emissions by 2025. And that is to achieve the temperature where life as we know it stays livable. We are currently on track for 2.5 to 4 degrees, where life becomes nasty, brutish, and short. And likewise, the TPCC, Tourism Panel on Climate Change, a new IPCC-type science-based body consisting of climate scientists from around the world that we have incubated in the Sustainable Tourism Global Center in Saudi Arabia in order to help the whole sector get more climate resilient. The TPCC also supports these findings, noting that tourism currently generates some 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas, and that this number is steadily increasing, driven by the foreseen continuing upward trend in aviation emissions. And at those levels, the future of humanity is truly on the line. Tourism is in the spotlight as much or more than any other sector. Until now, weather has been our most predictable element of the tourism ecosystem. Aviation has been in our travel DNA. Tourism, the promised lifeline to prosperity. All that is changing. We are poised like lemmings at the top of the cliff, staring into the abyss into which we are preparing to happily hurl ourselves. Net zero is a communal sleeping pill, letting us relax for business almost as usual today and incrementally pushing tomorrow off away from the real world agenda. And I agree with Greta Thunberg. Net zero, blah, blah, blah. We are deluding ourselves with declarations and social media trumpeted self-promotion, fueled by big bucks from big business and big government subsidies to stay in power and to exacerbate the crisis. We are rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic as the iceberg gets closer and closer. And for small island states, it's a massive disaster scenario already. According to the UN, they collectively are responsible for less than 1% of global warming. But they're the first in the firing line. Many decimated routinely by cyclones, typhoons, and hurricanes, losing shorelines and livelihoods, seeing the future disappear in front of their eyes. Hopefully, it is not too late to come to our collective senses. At SunX, a legacy for Maurice Strong, we are fighting to help accelerate tourism's response, turning education into action to build our leaders of the future, building a framework of climate-friendly travel, Paris 1.5, SDG-linked, and nature-positive, interacting simultaneously. And we do this first to help adapt to the new climate reality, simply to cope with the extreme weather and the death and destruction it is already bringing. And second, to help peak greenhouse gas sooner rather than later, to play our part in controlling global warming. Our focus is the world's poorest countries and small islands, LDCs and SIDS in UN speak. Countries who are the most exposed to the crisis and for whom tourism is still the best chance for a decent development pathway. Over the past 4 years, with great support from the Malta Tourism Authority, the small island state that first put climate change on the UN General Assembly agenda, we've created the world's first climate-friendly travel postgraduate diploma and trained nearly 100 students from all over the world to be strong climate champion chapter leaders in LDCs and SIDS, thoughtful activists and change agents, building climate-friendly travel local communities. We've established a registry to help companies and communities frame climate action plans. 500 participants from around the world and counting. And we've launched social enterprises to strengthen the virtuous circle of climate-friendly travel for communities, for companies, and for consumers, to bring the power of the tourism marketplace into place to help create behavioral change. And we take this action for our kids and our grandchildren. We take it now. We take it by being here. And we are ready to collaborate anywhere, anytime, with anyone to create a greener and cleaner future. And we're particularly pleased to collaborate with CBC GDF in China, because we know that China will be a true world leader in the change we need. Ladies and gentlemen, let me close with one important thought for all of us. Of all the disasters foreseen on the horizon, none is more universally dangerous than if we bury our heads in the sand and leave the future in the hands of climate change deniers, status quo apologists, and super smart lobbyists, whose real intentions are to distort and delay. More than ever before, we need honorable, clear-minded realists, leaders who are genuinely committed to building the precautionary principle into our climate shared future, and who genuinely care about our kids and our grandkids. And the more powerful the stakeholder, the more important this principle. Let me thank you for your attention and wish us all a very, very successful session here in the Caribbean. Thank you.